Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Create and Consume, a podcast about what we make, watch, and buy in the era of digital content. I'm your host, Austen Tosone. The holiday season is officially here and in full swing. For many, that means gatherings with friends and family, whether it be that end of year office party or a cookie baking contest or familial obligations. There are a lot of reasons to love the holidays, but the holidays also can be a little overwhelming sometimes too. I've got holiday on the brain in terms of upcoming content and collaborations that I'm working on, and that's why it's the topic of today's episode. I'm here to help you navigate the holiday season, give you some tips whether you're hosting or attending events, talk about mental health and burnout during this time, and throw in some fun things too, like fashion outfit ideas and trending makeup products. So, with all of that being said, before we jump into the episode, let's do a little create and consume. If you're newer to the podcast, by the way, create and consume is obviously the title of this show, but also a little mini segment I like to do at the start of each episode to share what I am creating and consuming each week, because I am basically always doing both of those things. And I want to hear from you too. So if you ever want to share with me what you're creating and consuming, you can comment on our Instagram at Create and Consume Pod. You can leave a comment on our website blog posts. You can leave a comment if you're watching this podcast episode on our YouTube channel, or you can even send me an email or a DM. I would love to hear from you. So, in terms of what I've been creating this week, I just posted a vlog the other day on my YouTube channel that shows the behind the scenes of what it's actually like to attend influencer events here in New York City. I had 3 events to attend last week. One was a pop up for a candle brand that I am an affiliate for, another was an exclusive early movie screening hosted by YouTube, and the last one was a brand dinner with Nicole Miller at Saki no Hana. So I filmed me attending all of those events. And because, sometimes at events, like you can capture footage and make it look cool, but in this vlog, you'll also see me debrief before and after the events, talk about whether I have an Uber code for the event, how I'm planning to get there, what I actually do at the events, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in a little bit more of the behind the scenes of what that process is like, which is a big part of my job, you can check out that video on YouTube. I will leave a link in the show notes. And as far as what I'm consuming this week, I actually went out to dinner with my husband Andrew on Saturday night before heading into the city for my friend Francesca's annual birthday karaoke celebration, which, if you saw my Instagram stories, I did once again sing Bet on It from High School Musical 2, and I did once again kill it. But anyway, Andrew and I went out to dinner in Hoboken before I took the path into the city, and we went to a restaurant called Ayame. So I have actually had Ayame before. It is a Japanese and hibachi restaurant. My friend Taylor introduced me to it, and we've gotten takeout from them before, but we've never gone out to eat there. And the reason I really liked it was because it was a Saturday night and we walked in with no reservation and we were able to get a table, and everything that we had was truly delicious. We shared some appetizers, some sushi rolls, and a bowl of chicken udon noodles, and I think the total cost of our food was like $57. And the best part was it was BYOB. So we just walked in with a bottle of wine, and not for anything, but like everything is so expensive these days. And to be able to go out and have what felt like a very filling amount of food that was very tasty and spend less than, what would it be with tip? Let's call it $70 or 75 maybe. I am not the best at math, and Andrew was actually the one who paid and did the tip, so thank you, Andrew. But just to have like a meal under $100 like that anywhere around here is so appreciated. So I just wanted to shout them out, and shout out to BYOB places in general. The karaoke place that we went actually was also BYOB. I believe it was called Gagopa, Gagopa karaoke on West 32nd Street. And that worked out really well too, because it didn't mean that we had to split a crazy bill at the end of the night and be like, okay, who ordered the 8 Coronas or who ordered this type of random sake drink. So anyway, that was a really enjoyable Saturday night, like the perfect balance of getting some quality time with my husband and also seeing my friends. And don't forget to let me know what you guys are creating and consuming as well. Let's move on to the main topic of today's episode, which is the holiday season. And I kind of put together just a fun little grab bag of different topics related to the holidays that I thought would be fun to chat through with you guys. I'm going to start out with hosting tips, and I'm not actually hosting any of the big hitter holidays like a Thanksgiving or a Christmas this year, but Andrew and I do each year like to throw a just little holiday get together for our close friends. I have been known to call it the holiday soiree just because I love the word soiree and it doesn't get enough play in everyday conversation. It's not really anything that fancy, but usually just sometime in December, we'll pick a Saturday night and invite our friends over. And the evening usually just consists of our holiday decor up in our apartment. I actually do have the tree up behind me. It's right there if you're watching on YouTube. I'm trying to duck out of the way because I actually am perfectly blocking it. I haven't put up like the lights or any of the ornaments yet. I was going to, but I actually got my COVID and flu shots yesterday and my arms have been killing me for the past 24 hours, but I think I'm on the tail end of it. They're feeling much better than they were this morning. But anyway, lifting my arms like even slightly above my waist was like a truly painful activity. So that's why just the tree is up right now. I didn't get around to finishing it. And I know I'm putting my tree up before Thanksgiving. I would love to hear if you have a hot take on that, whether you support the tree up before Thanksgiving or not. Can I just say, work wise this year, I actually do need to have it up before Thanksgiving because I have some content and collaborations that need to be shot. And also, it's artificial, and who cares? Honestly, after the last few weeks, I feel like we could all use an extra bit of merriment. So I am going team early tree. Now, when it comes to hosting our holiday party, I wanted to share a few of my favorite hosting tips and also some recent items that I think are good for hosting that I've found out on the World Wide Web. You know, I've been putting together a bunch of guides and fun holiday related things on the holiday hub of my blog, which I will also link in the show notes if you're in need of more inspiration or ideas. So, for something like our holiday party, where it requires basically texting a bunch of friends, inviting them to the party, and trying to keep track of who can make it and who can't, I actually have been using a website called Partyful in the last few years to do this. Partyful has been great because it basically is just a web page that contains all of the details that your friends would want to know about whatever event you're throwing. And you can schedule out text blasts to everyone's phone numbers. If they've attended an event of yours before, you can just invite them. It saves the contact. So it actually took me like basically no time to put together this invitation this year. And it sent out text blasts to all of the guests who we've invited in previous years who I thought would want to come again this year. This is just a really easy way to keep track of RSVPs and who's coming. It makes it really easy so I can see, oh, these 4 people haven't responded yet. So now I'm going to text them and ask if they can come because the party's in X many days. And it also gives people a place to put if they can't make it for whatever reason. So it just eliminates a lot of back and forth. And it even gives a maybe option to RSVP, which I feel like it's just harder than ever to commit to things. So I totally understand the maybe option. And again, like maybe 3 days before the party, I'll go in and text anyone who either didn't respond to the initial invite or who put maybe down and just check in to see if they think they're going to make it, mostly just for a head count for food and snacks and drinks and all of that stuff. But also because, you know, it is nice to reply to your friends when they invite you to a party. Partyful is great if you are mainly working with friends or you're inviting a larger group. And then I also like to prep as much as I can beforehand so that the day of the party, I am basically just setting up any food or making any drinks and things like that that need to be made the day of. So I honestly find working backwards to be the best way to do this. If I need to go to the grocery store, I will try to go the night before. So that means I should have my list done on Thursday. I should have any cute ideas that I want to execute, like charcuterie board inspiration, or last year I made a Christmas punch. Actually, this was funny. This was kind of like a Pinterest fail. I'm sure you guys have seen articles online of like Pinterest fails. I tried to make this Pinterest craft, and why does mine look so different from the photo that I saw on Pinterest? I had a moment like that last year because I was making this festive holiday punch. And I don't know what happened because I pretty much followed the recipe almost exactly from Pinterest, but I guess I must have messed something up because my punch was coming out so dark. It was supposed to look like, not as, this isn't going to sound very appealing, but it almost was supposed to look like Kool-Aid red. Like it was supposed to be red and festive. And my punch was such a dark, deep burgundy color that it almost looked like, I don't even know, root beer or something just in my picture. And I was like, this is not what I envisioned at all. So I thought I followed the recipe to a T. Maybe you even want to test a recipe in a small batch beforehand so you don't have the discoloration issue that I had with my holiday punch from last year. But, just planning everything ahead and working backwards so that you know what day you need to place orders if you are hosting people for like Thanksgiving or Christmas. My mom is always saying, oh, I need to make sure I get the call into the meat place or the butcher, X many weeks before so that it's all ready to go the day of. Also, just knowing ahead of time what you're going to wear, maybe what time you're going to change from your setting up your place clothes to your okay, people are actually coming clothes, if that makes sense. Also, I feel like small personalized details go a long way. I know there's so much inspiration out there on Pinterest and even on blogs like mine for, cute hosting hacks and ideas, but sometimes something just as simple and easy as like, you get a bunch of candy canes and you write out everyone's name really pretty with a pen and you have it on a little tag and you tie it to the candy cane and everyone gets one when they leave. That is something so tiny and personalized that you can do that doesn't involve spending extra money or buying things for people that they're not actually going to be able to use. Last year for our holiday party, we've gotten to that age now where like when Andrew and I first started hosting this party, it would start at like 9 p.m. and people would leave at like 2 or 3. And last year, everyone was gone by 10, I think. And this year, we're even starting it an hour earlier just because, honestly, even for me, like, I wouldn't want to go out super late during the winter months anyway, right now. And, some people have kids now, and some people will be commuting like from New York City. So it's better if they're not getting back super late or that they have more reasonable transportation options if they're coming to Hoboken. So anyway, for all of those reasons, we've moved the party up. But when people were leaving last year, because we are in our 30s era now, I was offering everyone on the way out their choice of like either a decaf coffee, a tea, or a hot chocolate to go. And I feel like it would be fun this year if I got more to go cups and I wrote people's name on it like at Starbucks as they were leaving. That was honestly one of my favorite parts of the evening because pretty much everyone I think took me up on it and everyone seemed like really delighted by the suggestion that they weren't just going out into the cold without a warm beverage, and I can appreciate that. Also, I know that hosting can be stressful and I'm literally one to talk because Andrew has seen me running around the apartment before going like, don't touch the cheese board or like, where are the pretzels? And as much as it can be stressful to host during the holidays, just remember that you're spending time with people you love, hopefully. If you're not, I feel for you. But that they don't care. And as much as they will appreciate you putting in effort when they're coming over, they're not expecting the Taj Mahal. They're not expecting the royal treatment. They're your friends and they'll be happy with whatever you do. Now, just for fun, I did put together a little list of holiday hosting essentials that I will link in the show notes, but I'll tell you about this curated list very quickly. One thing is having a drink dispenser. We have one we got from Amazon. I linked a cute one from Crate and Barrel that I thought was pretty. I also love tall candlesticks and tapered candles this time of year. Just make sure that they're not anywhere where people can knock them over. Another cute way to personalize things if you're having a sit down meal is these cute little, they're almost like mini ski chalets. I don't know how to describe it, that I also found on either Crate and Barrel or Anthropology. Okay, these are from Crate and Barrel. They're $5 each, and you can put a little name place card in it, and it holds up the person's name at the table. I always think that that is such a cute touch. I put some cranberry napkin rings on there if you're using cloth napkins. Anthropology has this really pretty, what are these called? Like cake knife sets, I guess? Metal serving set that have bows on them. I just think these are so cute. This would also make a great gift. Okay, sorry guys, I'm filming at a time that I don't normally fill at. So if I look like a ghost on YouTube and you just see light seeping in, it's just the nature of this one section of my blinds that isn't actually covered that looks like it'll pass by my camera soon. But anyways, A few of the other things I linked are some fun champagne flutes, also festive holiday wine stoppers. There is a little peppermint candy, a snowman, and a Christmas tree, and the ones that I've linked. I love seasonal, like complimentary kitchen accessories, like a butter dish or a sugar bowl and things like that. I think getting one set of those that you can reuse year after year is really fun. And of course, a festive Christmas serving platter, which I feel like Anthropologie just like completely owns that genre. But I feel like you don't need much, honestly. I feel like you probably already own some kind of tablecloth, especially if you have a home and not an apartment like me, and all of the usual. So these are just some fun optional add ons that you can choose to check out if you do a lot of hosting and you think they would be helpful. Moving on to holiday home decor, I am probably not a total expert on this because I live in a one bedroom apartment and I feel like I don't do half of what I would do if I had, you know, more than one space to decorate. If you've seen my apartment, you know, like we're at my desk right now, technically, but I am also in the living room. I am in the gym because I can see the Peloton. I am basically in the kitchen. So, anyway, in the future, when I have additional places to store Christmas decor and additional things to decorate, I will probably dive in a little bit deeper. However, if you are in an apartment living situation like me, or you just have one or two rooms that you would want to decorate, I feel like I have mastered the apartment Christmas decor. My first big tip is to get a slim tree. And this is basically just like the difference in circumference between trees. So growing up, we always had kind of a full sized Christmas tree. So I feel like the circumference or the base of the tree took up a lot of space and it basically took up a whole corner of our living room. And I've also seen these skinny Christmas trees before, but there's just something. I don't know what it is. I'm really just not that big of a fan of them. I feel like unless you get kind of a cluster of them and group them together, maybe they can be cute, but they're just not my favorite. So the slim tree is actually like, it is almost like the Goldilocks of Christmas trees. It's not too wide, it's not too narrow, it's just right. And we have been using this tree that is hiding right behind me for the last 3 years. We bought it in 2021. I checked my Amazon purchase history and it's been great. I don't lose a lot of needles from it. It has its own tree stand and it is not pre-lit. I have thoughts on that, but that is, mainly just because I grew up with my mom always putting like tons and tons of lights on the tree. And so I am completely biased based on that. And I feel like the pre-lit trees are A, never enough lights, and B, when they burn out, it's just so hard to work around the burnt out lights. So I prefer my tree to not come with lights on it already. But anyway, the slim tree just perfectly slides into the little spot next to our fireplace, which makes it really cozy. And we did get the 7.5 foot tall tree, which I do feel like makes it seem more grand than it actually is. When we were living in Long Island City, I had ordered a 6 foot tree that we actually put on a table. Like we had kind of a corner table that we would prop the tree up on. And you'd think 6 feet, like that sounds, that's like a tall person, right? But in compared to everything else in the apartment, and especially maybe because it was propped up on the table, I don't know, it just looked so much smaller than I wanted it to. And so I would rather go this slim, tall route than the short and wider route. So anyway, this tree has been working really well for us and it really doesn't take up too much space in our apartment. Also, when you're in an apartment, I feel like picking one core area to focus on with decorating is usually the showstopper. So for me, that's usually the tree and then our fireplace is right next to it. So those two things together are where I spend most of my energy when I'm decorating for Christmas. I did get gifted some garlands last year from Walmart because I worked on a campaign with them for Pinterest that actually perfectly go all around the top cabinets in our kitchen. So now that area has started to feel a little bit more festive too. And those garlands actually weren't even that expensive, but I think my biggest overall takeaway with apartment Christmas decor would just be don't overspend or invest too heavily in stuff right away. I think that you are going to still have other places that you'll live in the future, and you just don't know if everything is going to fit. So, if you are currently renting or you feel like you're going to move soon, maybe wait until you're in a more permanent space before you start pulling out the big guns, diving into some of those bigger purchases, unless you are feeling really festive and have a ton of extra cash, in which case I say go for it. One thing I actually do like to invest in, just because I feel like I'll have them forever, ideally, unless they break, which is always not good. But I will say that I love receiving ornaments as gifts, and I love giving ornaments as gifts too. And Anthropologie is always the first place I look for Christmas ornaments because it's one of the more affordable things to buy there, and they just have something for everyone. So I actually did round up a few of my favorite ornaments from this year. I will link this in the show notes. But just to rattle off a couple of them, there is an embroidered ornament that says, "I'm the problem, it's me." Good Taylor Swift reference or gift for a Swiftie. There is basically every cocktail you could imagine this year. I finally found my Dirty Martini Christmas ornament. I purchased it for myself back in September because I was scared it was going to sell out. And they also have an espresso martini. They have a Bloody Mary. They have basically every cocktail you could imagine. They had a lot of city themed ornaments too. They have this like Matchbox collection, and the New York one has a taxi cab on it, which is so cute. They also have some picture frame ornaments, which I feel like also make a nice gift. If you're giving it to someone, you could put a picture of the two of you in it, or a picture from a group trip, or whatever the case is. Oh, and there was a pretzel one that I thought was really cute too. Very hard-hitting journalism that I'm doing here, but yeah, I will leave links to those in the show notes. Let's move on and talk about holiday style inspiration. And for me, this both changes a little bit every year, but also kind of follows the same pattern. So when I see something that I feel like would make a great holiday staple piece, I'll honestly just buy it and then kind of keep it in the rotation and swap things out every few years. But I just wanted to rattle off a couple of ideas, and I broke this down into a cozy section and a dressy section because, you might have more cozy holiday plans this year than dressy ones. Maybe you are going to do a Netflix or Hallmark movie marathon, or a cookie baking contest, or a gingerbread decorating. Wow, this is just making me hungry. Gathering with all of your friends. So, things that I'm loving in the cozy realm are, first of all, oversized scarves. These are not only cute, but also necessary depending on how cold it gets where you live and also how windy it gets. I have this oversized plaid scarf from Urban Outfitters that I got a few years ago that I wear on repeat this time of year, and I'm going to be looking for a similar option in maybe a solid color like red or brown for this season. Obviously, everything on the sweater front. I want it oversized. I want it to be a turtleneck, ideally, but then I also want it to be slightly cropped just for proportions. But I just feel like you can't go wrong with a sweater this holiday season, or any time throughout the fall and winter months, to be honest. Okay, this is the year that I am breaking out my ultra mini Uggs. I just want to wear these everywhere all the time. They are so comfortable, and I also do recommend treating them with the like winter protectant spray for Uggs. I think you can get it on Amazon or on the Ugg website just to protect the suede from any moisture, rain, or snow. But I feel like Ultra Mini Uggs outfit has been my most searched thing on Pinterest because I'm just trying to find all of the different ways to style them. I also feel like this is the time of year for velvet pants. I have a pair I got from a few years ago at Mango that are basically just a pair of black wide leg pants, but they're in a velvet fabric. And this is both kind of a dressy option, honestly, but also just such a comfy option. It basically feels like you're wearing sweatpants, but there's just something that feels a little bit more chic about it based on the fact that it's velvet. And then two things that I rented from Nuuly that I've been loving are, number one, I rented a corduroy brown mini skirt from there, and I wore this to the hotel lobby candle holiday pop-up last week. So that, like I said, I rented from Nuuly, but I also linked some similar options on my LTK. I feel like that just pairs well with a plain long sleeve black top, with an oversized sweater, with a leather jacket. There are so many different ways that you can style something like that. And I love corduroy for fall winter. I feel like it's one of those fabrics that I forget about every other year, but when I remember it and I come back to it, I'm in it for the long run. And also just cozy shearling pieces. If you're watching me on YouTube, this jacket that I'm actually wearing right now is kind of half shearling and half, not totally sure what this fabric is, but there's kind of like patches of more weatherproof fabric, I'll call it. And it's just a cute, like, throw over fleece moment. And I rented this one from Nuuly. I feel like this is the time of year that I'm reaching for Nuuly the most. So if you haven't tried Nuuly yet, I do have a code that I know gets you money off your first order. So I will link that in the show notes too. I feel like I have said link in the show notes a lot in this episode, and I think you guys know the majority of my episodes are not really like this. It's kind of just one of those things where I feel like sometimes the visual is more helpful, or if I can give you a discount of some kind, I will mention it. So I just wanted to make sure that I called that out. And also just say thank you if you ever do click on my links. A lot of them are affiliate links, meaning I get a very small, very small, can't stress how small, kickback usually when you do click on my links or make a purchase through my links. And that's just something that helps me continue to create free content like the podcast for you. And yeah, I really appreciate it. So just wanted to take a quick moment to say thank you for that. And then on the dressy front for holiday fashion, I feel like these are kind of the core items that are always in the rotation or conversation. First of all, anything with sequins, rhinestones, sparkles. This is the time to wear it. When I went to the Nicole Miller holiday dinner last week, I wore this really amazing beaded dress from, I think they told me, their signature collection. And it's just like the perfect holiday dress, like a sequin dress with black tights for a holiday party. That is the perfect uniform, and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes that's just the perfect thing to wear, and I'm going to continue to go with it. I also love festive red moments. I have this red, actually more tight-fitting turtleneck that I got last year also from doing my Walmart campaign, and I plan to break it out again for this year. I actually wore it on Christmas Day last year, if I'm remembering correctly. And then I also love like evergreen. I love gold. I love black. I think there are so many ways to do holiday this time of year. And there are a lot of things that can work for kind of quote unquote general holiday that also work for Christmas, that also work for New Year's. So if you find something in this lineup or in this rotation that you love, I say just stick with it, and it's something you can rewear for many years to come. But if you want to do something more special, there's always Nuuly or other clothing rental options, or just buying things. But, you know, I'm just trying to think ahead, like for things that you want to buy that can become wardrobe staples versus things that you'd rather rent because they're going to be so unique or memorable, or you really only see yourself wearing them once. I also want to try out patterned tights or colored tights again. I feel like I did a lot of this trend back in, oh, I don't even know, like maybe 2013 or 2014, but I'm ready and here to revisit that. I know bows were a really big thing in 2023, but I am still here for the bows this time of year, and I just love a cute little hair bow. You can either get the bigger ones or you can get the little skinny ones, and I usually just do them either with my hair half back and I'll put a little bow, or I might do like a full sleek ponytail and put the bow right on top so that the bow is almost like half of the hairstyle. Oh, and this is a great time for like faux fur, feathers, just anything textured or really cozy, I feel like can be even more appreciated during the holiday season. My random little light leak is back if you're watching on YouTube, but this is what I get for recording my podcast episodes at 2 p.m. when I usually record them in the morning when this doesn't happen. But I was recovering from my shots yesterday, as discussed. So there you go. When it comes to winter and holiday makeup trends that I'm loving, I am currently into some trends that I feel like don't technically seem like holiday related on paper, but I feel like can tie in. For example, I'm loving bubblegum pink blush right now. I just feel like this is so flattering on everyone, and for me, I have to remember to think of my makeup and my outfits together as a full look, because if I'm wearing a red outfit or a gold outfit, bubblegum pink blush is actually such a beautiful complement to something like that. So that is something that I have been really into lately. I've been using the Wander brush blush. Why do I always do that? The Wander Beauty blush in Priority Pink is the shade I've been using. And to me, this is like the bubblegum pink blush of my dreams. I also think glass-like skin is kind of a long-term trend, but something that I really tend to see more of and appreciate, especially this time of year. I've been testing out the Peach and Lily Glass Skin Serum, and I absolutely love it. They also make a mist that is just a way to kind of get your skin to look incredibly dewy and fresh and beautiful. Obviously, the K beauty brands know where it's at. I'm also really into matte browns lately, color wise. I actually did a whole YouTube tutorial with my latest matte brown makeup routine. So I will link that in the show notes so you can go watch that and just see from start to finish just how much it really warms up your skin. And again, I think something like that is a beautiful compliment if you're wearing a sparkly dress to have more of a matte base for your makeup. I also think frosted eyeshadow is going to have a moment again. It's a very like late 90s thing, but I just think that in addition to the heavier, more intentional sparkle and sequin makeup that we can see trending around the holidays, this is just a way to get that subtle monochromatic wash of color across your lid. And it's something so easy that honestly anyone can do, especially if you're just using that one shade or one color. Similarly, on that note, cool toned highlighter. I have one from Jason Wu Beauty. I want to say it's called Opal, although I'm not entirely sure, but just something that is really cooler toned, I feel like is what I've been seeing trending for this fall winter season. And also, there's always a classic red lip, right? It's hard to go wrong with that during the holidays. I want to switch gears a little bit. I feel like it's been mostly festive and fun so far, which is what I wanted the majority of this episode to be about. But I did just want to touch on two slightly more, I don't know, serious or emotional topics related to the holidays. So the first one is avoiding burnout. And I say this as an entrepreneur who typically brings in a good majority of their money for the year during this time of year. And also just as a person who can experience burnout because we live in a never ending, seemingly crushing news and media cycle. There is more short form video out there in the world today created in the last 6 months than there ever has been. I don't know. It's just an overwhelming time of year. So I just wanted to share a few of my best tips for avoiding burnout during the holiday season. Number one is just don't overcommit. And I'm trying to be better about setting boundaries and not saying yes to every single thing, even though it sounds fun. That was something I had no problem doing at like 22 or 23 when I was newer to the industry and just had more energy in general. I know that my energy is not infinite. I know that it's finite and that I can only exert a certain amount of it before I need to recharge. And so, for that reason, if I'm going to attend an event, but I just know I'm going to be exhausted or not engaged or want to go home, then I might as well just avoid putting myself in that situation in the first place and just simply say, no, I'm not able to make it. And I do say no a lot more than I say yes now. And that doesn't just go for like work events and obligations, but even spending time with friends. And you'd think that you can't burn out from spending time with friends, but you can burn out if you're doing more than what you can realistically achieve in a given week. Not to mention, I still have a lot of goals that I set from the beginning of the year that I really want to push on and try to get across the finish line. You can listen to more of my thoughts about that in an episode from a few weeks back that I did called Lock In and Achieve Your Goals by 2025. Realistically, for me, one plan on a weeknight after work and one plan on a weekend is already like a good amount of socialization I have found. And that's something that I do try to stick to as much as I can. Last week was an exception, but that was also the topic of the YouTube video was attending influencer events. So having 3 events in one week was major overkill for me personally. By the time Friday rolled around, I was so excited to just order in a pizza and sit quietly and watch a movie with Andrew. And on a similar note to that, recharging your social battery, I think, is important. Just little things that I try to make time for myself to do throughout the week, especially this time of year, are to light a candle and just sit and take a few deep breaths, maybe read a little bit of my book, take a long hot shower, or just burrow myself in a cozy blanket with a cup of coffee or hot chocolate or something like that. Also, just to take care of yourself physically, like I mentioned, I just got my COVID and flu shots this holiday season because I really just don't feel like getting sick or getting anyone I care about sick. To stay hydrated as much as I can, hence, the 40-ounce Stanley that is always within my reach. And one other thing I do like to do is take ginger shots. So this is not to be confused with like a vaccination. A ginger shot is a very little bottle of juice, and it is basically really, what's the word I'm looking for? Not compressed, condensed, maybe? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Concentrated. I think I'm trying to say concentrated. It's really concentrated juice with ginger root, turmeric, basically all of these things that are supposed to be good for immunity and also clear out your sinuses. I get them from Trader Joe's. They are the cheapest there. Let me just say that. And I also feel like they're sometimes stronger than some of the more fancy ones that I've purchased, like from an actual juice bar or juice store. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. And my last tip for avoiding burnout is if you work at a company and you are not your own boss and you are a salaried employee, take your vacation days. Okay. That is probably the number one thing that I miss most about corporate life is having an actual structured vacation schedule and being able to step away fully from work. It's just so much harder to do when you care so deeply about every little aspect of what you're creating. So if someone else pays your salary who's not you, make sure to take your vacation days. Or, I mean, if they roll over, that's one thing. But if you need to take time off before the end of the year, even if there are projects and deadlines, make sure that you do take your time off. I think we all really deserve a break. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is something that I feel very privileged to not have needed to think too deeply about over the years, but something that I guess is really like hitting me a little harder this holiday season is just the thought of like holiday hardships and loneliness. This is going to be our first holiday season without Andrew's dad, and I really miss him. And as much as I'm grateful that we're going to be able to get together with family this year, and that everyone right now is, healthy and doing well, it's just going to be kind of sucky under the surface too. It just feels really wrong. It feels like he should be here, and that part of it is going to be harder to get through for sure. So if you've lost a loved one, I really understand how the holidays are not always this like super cheery thing that they're made out to be. So if you are missing family members this year or you're not going to be able to be with your family, I just wanted to share like a few closing thoughts about handling hardships or loneliness during the holiday season. Number one, I think it's totally fine for you to, say no to things. You're not obligated to attend anything that might upset you or that wouldn't be good for like your own mental health. I think giving yourself some true time alone and just unplugging, whether that means you, I don't know, deep clean the whole apartment. That's probably not what normal people do to cope, but that's one thing that I like to do just to kind of refresh my space and make sure that everything feels clean, and at least that's one thing that is within my control and I don't have to worry too much about. This could also look like just binging your favorite show. I am currently inhaling The Good Place. It has really been helpful the last few weeks just as a bit of levity in what has been kind of just a stressful time, like every time you check the news or check headlines. This is also another great time of year to take a social media break, which I did over the summer and I'm definitely considering doing again, maybe at the end of the year. Also, if you're not going to be able to be physically with family or friends this year, I would start sending out texts now and just like schedule some FaceTime dates on the calendar. I know that's like so 2020, but I think people want to be there for others and for the people that they love. And if you reach out, I know that people would be more than willing to make the time and catch up. And I think that being intentional with your friends and family and just reminding them that you love them and you want to know how they're doing and you want to catch up is something that just everyone can benefit from. And the fact that we can do it from the comfort of our own homes. I mean, if we've gotten any silver lining from the last 4 years, it's just how much more we can connect with people even when we're not with them. So definitely see if you can get some of those actually like on the calendar so you can catch up with people. Maybe Thanksgiving morning while people are cooking and getting ready, you can be on FaceTime, or maybe you can call each other in the evening after everyone's had a couple glasses of wine. And the last thing I want to end with is just to ask for help if you need it. Again, if you have trusted friends or family members, a partner, a therapist, I'm a fan of those. Definitely reach out and make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because I know it can be an overwhelming time. It should be really fun, but it can stir up a lot of different emotions. I just wanted to say all of that. Sorry to end on a bit of a down note, but that's just reality sometimes. And that's okay. And if you need any other like lighthearted additional holiday help, like I said, the Holiday Hub section of my blog, which is newly redesigned and relaunched, is absolutely stunning. There's a lot more stuff on there from different hosting essentials, home decor, and gift guides, which I'm not going to talk about now. I'm going to save that for next week to do a whole dedicated episode for holiday shopping and my gift suggestions. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. As a reminder, you can support Create and Consume for free by doing any of the following. You can leave me Apple and Spotify ratings and reviews. You can like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. You can follow along at Create and Consume Pod on Instagram and TikTok. You can send this episode to a friend who might enjoy it. And as always, don't forget to check out createandconsumepodcast.com for episode recaps and more. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.